Budner for Marketplace.
And in New York, I'm Sabri Benishore with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or BaptistJax.com.
Wayne Hogan of the Terrell Hogan Law Firm.
I'm Wayne Hogan. The Move Over Law protects police, fire, EMS, utility, and sanitation personnel by requiring drivers to move over and slow down for their vehicles.
Learn more at waynehogan.law.
North Florida TPO, proud sponsor of WJCT's First Coast Connect, bringing to the community innovation in transportation planning, commuter services, clean fuels, and intelligent transportation systems. More at northfloridatpo.com.
This is WJCT News 89.9 in Jacksonville. Ahead in the next 5 minutes, live local news for the First Coast from the WJCT News team.
On the independent 89.9 HD4, we're providing a platform for music discovery that's free from the algorithms that push listeners toward the squishy middle of sameness. We're playing new music from non-commercial artists, handpicking each song with care because we really do care. And we believe that music discovery unlocks the potential of music to move and inspire. Dig in deeper with us on 89.9 HD4, the WJCT app, or on jacksmusic.org.
Hear from some of the biggest newsmakers in the community on First Coast Connect, where we discuss the issues and stories that affect your life across the First Coast. We also ask for your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Engagement is what drives the show. So engage with us right now as we get started here in just a few minutes on First Coast Connect.
Good morning. It's now 9:01. I'm Stephen Ponson. Some Florida parents are pushing back against the culture war being waged in schools. Sean Kinane reports on the new group called Parenting with Pride.
It's seen as a progressive response to Moms for Liberty. That's the conservative parents group that gained prominence during the pandemic. But Jennifer Solomon with Parenting with Pride says her group is fighting back against attacks on the LGBTQ community and academic freedom by Moms for Liberty and the state government.
Ron DeSantis has said that this is the voice of parents in the state of Florida, and I disagree. I think the voice of parents in the state of Florida are parents that want to make sure that our kids have a safe learning environment.
In addition to being part of Parenting with Pride, Solomon is the Parents and Family Support Manager for Equality Florida, a human rights organization supporting LGBTQ Floridians. Solomon says parents like her want to make sure that schools are a place where kids can get the information they need so they can go on to college and become productive adults in society. I'm Sean Kinane in Tampa.
Another state sales tax holiday is upon us here in Florida. Starting tomorrow, disaster preparedness supplies will be tax-free, so you can save a little cash when you stock up for hurricane season. Tax-free items include food and supplies for pets, some household cleaning products, batteries, portable weather radios, and even generators. But there are price limitations, so check out the full list before you shop, and you can find that list at floridarevenue.com/disasterprep. This tax holiday runs through September 8th. It's going to be warm today, highs near 94. The start of a warming trend gets going. Tonight, lows around 77. Be aware there is a high rip current risk if you are headed out to the beaches today. Tomorrow, more warm weather, highs near 93, and it'll be a hot weekend.
This is WJCT News 89.9 in Jacksonville. Opinions expressed on the Friday Media Roundtable are those of our panelists and do not necessarily reflect the views of WJCT News.
Hey, you are listening to First Coast Connect. This is Al Letson coming to you live from Studio 2 at WJCT, and it's Friday, so that means it is time for the Media Roundtable. Some of the items on the menu. Mayor Donna Deegan goes to bat for her appointees. Jacksonville lawmakers asked the feds to investigate conditions inside the Duval County Jail. Former President Donald Trump turns himself in after skipping the first Republican presidential debate. And the Murray Hill odor mystery is solved. Or is it? I don't know. It sounds like a Scooby-Doo plot, but it's real. Later, we have tacos and tequila. You are welcome. It is a full show, so let's get started and dive into it. With me today are my lovely panelists who are just an amazing group of people. I love getting together with these folks. We got the two Claires. Claire Heddle of Jacksonville Today is in studio. Hey, Claire.
Good morning, Al.
Claire number 2, although Claire number 2 never is like number 2 to anybody or anything. She's just the second person.
One.
Yes. No, she's just the second person I'm turning to, but she's not a number 2. My buddy, Claire Goforth of the Daily Dot. Hi, Claire.
Good morning, Al.
Charles Griggs, my man, regular contributor and just an all-around good guy who tells us all these great stories off mic, but will not share them when the mics get cut on.
That's the name of the game. Good morning.
It's all good. And my dude, Jack Webb, regular contributor and former city council president. Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back.
You getting all this insider information from Mr. Griggs and won't share it? I don't know. I thought you guys loved me. All right, you can listen live on the radio or watch our video stream right now on Facebook and the WJCT YouTube page. You can call us at 549-2937. Tweet us at FCC on air. Email us at firstcoastconnect@wjct.org and message us on the First Coast Connect Facebook page. Also, be sure to check out our new Instagram. It's at FCC on air. I promise you I will not post on there because I'm just anti-social media right now. But there are pictures of other people on there, I think. I don't know. You have to talk to Stacy. So, guys, let's dive into our first story. On Wednesday, Mayor Donna Deegan pushed back on what she described as a smear campaign against former city councilwoman Randy DeFore, her nominee for the city's top attorney position. Jack, let's start with you. What's going on here, and is any of this unprecedented?
The short answer is yes, it is unprecedented. Again, the charter was modified a number of years ago. The ordinance was modified to provide an organized, orderly structure for selection of a GC. All right. It appears that was complied with, and we get this. Now, there are so many angles to this story. Okay, what's going on? What is going on? I think the lobbyist issue, I'll use canard for lack of a more effective or descriptive term, but it's garbage. It's absolute garbage. I mean, 5 years ago, the way to take somebody out is to accuse them of a conflict of interest. Now it's like you're violating Florida ethics laws because you can't lobby. It's not lobbying. You're legal counsel. What's disturbing to me is that just reflects a fundamental failure to understand what the role of the general counsel's office is. General counsel is not representing the mayor. General counsel represents Consolidated City of Jacksonville, which last time I looked included the city council as well as the agencies, whatnot. And but that said, there's also political retribution going on here.
Yeah, it feels like we are officially, Claire. It feels like we are officially out of the goodwill and good luck to the new mayor phase.
Yes, indeed. I mean, the honeymoon is over. Didn't last very long, a month and a half. And the city council, the members who oppose former councilwoman DeFore are saying that her being appointed to the office of general counsel would violate a state ethics law that prohibits former council members from lobbying the body they used to belong to. But it's very difficult to equate lobbying with representing. Literally, the office of general counsel represents the council.
That's exactly right.
And part of this is an ongoing trend that we've seen over the past 8 years of the Curry administration, where the Office of General Counsel has been increasingly politicized and used for political gain. I remember very memorably this incident when they interpreted the word shall to mean may in terms of a school board referendum. And, so playing politics with the OGC has become increasingly common. It's the most powerful non-elected position in city government. So we're going to see this battle play out over the next couple of months.
Charles, Randy mentioned, or excuse me, Jack mentioned earlier that this is political payback. What exactly is the payback for?
Well, first of all, the Office of General Counsel is supposed to be a benign arbitrator of policy and issues related to the city of Jacksonville. They're not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a political position. And we've seen, like Claire mentioned, we've seen several rulings that people have interpreted as politics in the past with the thou and the is and the what and the how, who for. We've had a mayor who was duly elected by the citizens of Jacksonville. She should have the opportunity to appoint who she sees fit for these roles and properly vetted, of course. But at the same time, we haven't seen, and I don't think, Jack, I don't remember, we haven't seen this much pushback for anyone's appointee in the last 8 years or so. And when we talk about political pushback, when we talk about political retribution, you have to think about what happened a couple of months ago, a few months back, where a clear signal was sent that we're not interested in this type of politics anymore, and to try to stand that type of ground now, in the face of the mayor asking for what she believes to be her own best people for the positions that she's looking for. That's what we call political retribution. Someone trying to stand in a space where you feel like I'm going to make my presence known, even in the face of the voice of the people.
Mm-hmm. I can't help but think that some of this opposition, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but some of this opposition has to do with the sale of JEA and how Randy DeFore was against it and fought against it, and a lot of people on the council wanted it to happen.
And that is definitely what both Deegan and DeFore have been saying, is that this is retribution for DeFore speaking out against privatizing JEA and also going against the Republican establishment during the election and endorsing Donna Deegan. But one sort of strange wrinkle to me about this whole situation is why Mayor Deegan asked for the ethics opinion herself, hiring her own outside counsel. It seems like the ethics question does seem sort of irrelevant. How is the general counsel's office being viewed as lobbying? It seems like a really odd question. And of course, the general counsel is representing the council itself, not a lobbying group or not outside interests. So why did Mayor Deegan ask for this outside ethics opinion? It seems like maybe she was trying to appease the murmuring she was hearing from Republican city council members, but then it's created this sense of confusion, like there is an ethics conflict. And of course, the council has a right to
in a
ask
way it kind
the
of
ethics
legitimizes.
commission. But right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's kind of been a strange wrinkle that maybe Jack or Charles have an interesting perspective on that I'd like to hear.
Thanks.
Claire, I usually put people in the hot seat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I just
please.
know they have insight that I
You did it
maybe
well.
don't.
You did it well.
Charles, you want to go first?
No, you go first.
All
Claire.
right. Well, Claire, I agree with you. I think that I think the intention here was to get out in front of the issue, and unfortunately, it gave fodder to council members to delay the process by requesting that council instruct or whatever to request the opinion from the attorney general, state attorney general. Now, if you can expedite it, that's great. But it seems to me that it probably hindsight's 20/20. So it is what it is. Point is though. Council, where are we going here? I mean, what's your timeline? I mean, you want to do a conditional vote on this thing, or you want to do an up and down vote on it regardless? Let's assume that you get a bad answer, or the administration gets a bad answer back from the Attorney General's office. You're not going to get that, but regardless, what do you guys want to do? You want to do a conditional approval or vetting? Vote it, because right now we're either go on the record, step up. If you're going to vote against her, put it on the record, and let's move on down the road. Because again, to Charles's point, the general counsel is really, as Rick Mulaney's always described it, the general counsel's office is the glue that holds consolidated government together in many respects. And it's true. We got a strong mayoral form of government. We've got a full-blown legislative branch with the council, and we got the independent authorities. But the general counsel is supposed to be above the fray and bring rhyme and reason to consolidated government, which is a tangled mess in many respects. But so we need that chair filled. So
I think it would be important for council leadership or those people who have some angst with the mayor's selection here to do something or say something to let the public know that they're operating in good faith, trying to work towards getting a positive resolution to the mayor's pick, to the mayor's selection. So again, I think the important thing is that the mayor has to have an opportunity to select the people who she wants to serve, and that's been the tradition since consolidated government. And to have this type of angst during the early stages of the administration is troubling.
Yeah, we're gonna go to the phones. We got Michael. Michael, how are you doing this morning? Michael, you there?
DeSantis dead-enders that are causing all the problems are at-large members of the council, particularly Terrence Freeman and Nick Howland. They don't really represent anyone except they're in their office as a consequence of vote dilution. In other words, they have a Republican by their name and they get into the office because of vote dilution. So I think a lot of the problem here is these dead-enders, and I don't know how to get around them, but it's pretty hard for me to take seriously the kind of blockades they're throwing up. Thank you.
Thank you. I will not call them dead enders, but I will say that this is the facts. This is what you got to deal with. It's hard to get around them.
What disturbs me about this is that, someone's got to be the adult in the room every once in a while. Jim King used to say that when Jim King was still alive. Webb, you got to get above the fray. Someone's got to be the adult in the room. Where are the adults in the room? If this is based on petty relationships, petty politics, you don't like the woman because she opposed you or she didn't support you on this bill, come on, put it all aside and just consider the nomination on the merits and stop playing politics. Do what's right for the city of Jacksonville.
And I think that's supported by the fact that we just had an election, and the public said this is the type of government we want. We want someone who doesn't give the appearance that they're governing from with an iron fist, coming for people around every corner.
Right.
That's what people are looking for, and the mayor has said over and over and over again, we're going to do this differently. And by having different types of people in her administration, she gets to choose who she wants to have, and the council should give her that grace in order to do so.
If you want to join the conversation, you can. We are at 549-2937. You can tweet us at FCC On Air. First Coast Connect to WJCT.org. You can find us on Facebook, and I believe we are streaming on YouTube or something of the like. You can find us if you want to see all these beautiful people in this room with me right now. We have one appointment that is up for air or up in the air right now, Randy DeFore. But what happened with the appointment that was shot down recently?
Is that Al Ferraro?
No, I was thinking about
talking about Parvez Ahmed, diversity and
Parvez
inclusion.
Ahmed, yes, they cut the funding for the diversity and inclusion office that Deegan wanted to have, officer that she wanted to have, and that really is part of the national Florida conversation that Republicans have just clung to. It's one of their standards, so they just oppose everything that involves diversity and inclusion. And I know that Parvez Ahmed is a bit of, as I believe Jack said earlier, lightning rod among some on the council, but he's also an extremely experienced academic and a person who's worked in the field of, diversity and inclusion for many years. And what Mayor Deegan is attempting to do is to recognize that Jacksonville is a diverse, multicultural city and bring all those voices to the table. And by shooting that down, the council is saying, nope, let's just keep it going. White guys, business as usual.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, please.
It's interesting. When I was on the council, we always dealt. Every year came budget time, there were two amendments. Somebody wants to eliminate funding for the Canning Kitchen. And the second perennial was removing funding for the Jacksonville Human Rights Commission. This is just an outgrowth of that. That's why I think it was 3 months ago, right after Donna announced her team or her people coming in into the new administration when she created this office, not necessarily the individual who she chose to fill the office, but when she chose to create the office, I predicted at that time she was going to get pushback from the Finance Committee based on what the Finance Committee, who was on it. So that's what we're seeing now. Now, is it dead in the water? No, because she can move a floor amendment during the budget and bring it back, file, and see if she can get the votes, full votes of the council during the budget. But I will tell you this, what this is shaping up to be is a really, really ugly budget reconciliation process. When the full budget comes out of finance and rules, then it comes to the full council, it's going to be a Donnybrook.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can also choose to try to find the funding at another resource in her budget.
Mhm.
So it's not over.
Yeah.
But they're certainly sending a signal about how they feel about that position.
And I think we'll see full council debate about it and public comment. And I think one of the important points is that Nick Howland said that it overlapped with the Jacksonville Human Rights Commission. That was his argument about why he's eliminating it. And I think it's clear those are very different duties. The Jacksonville Human Rights Commission investigates complaints of discrimination. This position that Deegan created was creating strategic initiatives that aren't specifically related to complaints of employment discrimination. I mean, it's two very separate duties that we're talking about here.
Before we move on to a different topic, two quick questions. Al Ferrero, where are we at on his nomination?
Claire, either Claire could jump in here, or Charles. I'm hearing pushback. I don't know. I'm hearing resistance. I don't know. Well, they're not going to eliminate the funding for that particular budget item, but there is pushback coming from the Republican-controlled council, and I think that is more, again, what we're talking about. That is Dean Black, chairman of the Republican Party, saying any collaboration with the enemy will be met with swift and final execution.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Republicans have traditionally fallen in line, and now those who are not doing so are being punished by the party and by the people who are willing to do so. And, there's a point that we haven't yet made on this on the show yet about two elephants in the room here, right? Brian Hughes and Tim Baker. There's a perception that Lenny Curry's top consultant and his number two are sort of pulling the strings behind the scenes here. They deny it. They say, we're not even in Jacksonville right now. We're just hanging out and having a nice vacation or whatever. But, the fact is that Freeman and Howland, who are really the loudest voices of opposition for Deegan's priorities, are well known to be allies of the two. And so even if they're not directly influencing them, there's a perception that, the priorities that they have had for city government are still being, pushed by those two members of council, among a few others.
Yeah. So you have to look at the overall political goals here. We have a presidential election coming up next year. This county now is run by a Democratic mayor, and they got to try to really hold on to some of the establishment politics that's been going on here for almost forever now. And so because next fall they're going to have to deliver, try to deliver this county, and if they're not doing what try to reestablish some of the things that were a part of the political landscape here previously, then Duval County will be up for grabs when we come in 2024.
I think one thing that a lot of these Republicans are missing is the fact that 14% of Republicans who turned out to vote in the last mayoral election voted for a Democrat.
Yep.
So if you're Charles, you're talking about Republicans carrying the county, Duval, in the next presidential election. I mean, warning lights are flashing all over the place.
Yep.
Right. Too much support for the mayor would.
Yeah.
It seems like Deegan has put forth a good faith effort for bipartisanship, but I'm not sure we're seeing that coming back from council as Ron Salem promised.
Yeah.
Also this week, two Jacksonville legislators, State Representative Angie Nixon and State Senator Tracy Davis, called for the Department of Justice to investigate the Duval County Jail. Why'd they call for this investigation?
Because there's no action taken by the state attorney's office with respect to convening a grand jury to look at all of this. My understanding, I did some research on this a couple of weeks ago, and I think before Angie and before they wrote the letter to the DOJ, and I think Houston, which is like three times the size of Jacksonville, if not more, they had less fatalities in their jail, obviously per capita, but even in absolute terms, I think they had less, and they were taken over by the feds. So I think the precedent is there, and I'm shocked that that something has not already happened, especially since you have a Democratic administration running the DOJ. I mean, it seems we have a real problem here. I mean, it's not just politics. We have a problem.
Well, Sheriff Waters is saying that by switching from Armor Correctional Health Services, which has provided the health care at this jail for the past several years, under which the deaths in the jail have tripled in recent years, from switching to Armor to NAFCare, a different company that provides the same service, that he's handling the problem. The issue with that is that NAFCare has a very terrible record. If you look at, and there's a lengthy history there of similar issues, the same type of issues in the jail, and really the question boils down to whether or not this, in addition to whether it should be taken over by the feds, but also does it make sense that the city has divested itself of responsibility? It's no longer a city service. So, we pay a for-profit company, and a for-profit company interest is in their bottom line. And if they are doing a good job and people are getting their insulin, people are getting their meds, for the one gentleman who passed away because he had a heart transplant and wasn't getting his meds. If people are not getting their meds, people are overdosing in the jail, then you really have a problem.
And we've got a caller who wants to talk about the jail. Charles, you there?
Yeah. Hey, Al, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Claire and Claire.
Hi. Hi.
Don't forget Jack and Charles.
Claire squared. Claire squared. That's who we got on this.
Yeah, don't forget Jack and Charles. They're feeling very left out.
Hey, Jack. It's just the facts, ma'am. Hey, guys, on this jail contract thing, can't we get it back to where the Jacksonville Health Department manages it, and instead of going to this outsourcing stuff?
That's a good question. Thanks, Charles.
And Al, I was just going to bring that up. I used to work for the health department, and during that time, we did have the jail contract, and it was significantly less than what is being spent on that. I can't tell you about the difference between services that were provided then and now, but it was significantly less than what it is now, and it was it was very cohesive relationship, and during the time that the contract was moved. I think there were some questions about why was it taken out of the hands of the health department at the time.
It's a great question. Claire G, not Claire 1 or Claire 2, but Claire G.
Thank you for correcting that. Thank you very much.
Hey, man, I'm here to help.
You should have seen the look that Claire G gave me. Like, she was like, number 2? I am not number 2.
Age before beauty. Okay, I'm number 1.
But Claire G made the comment before. Basically, what you're trying to do is turn a city service into you're trying to make it into a commercial business, transform it into a profit center for somebody.
Right.
I remember talking to Adam Hollingsworth one time because we were talking about indigent healthcare up at Shands and talking about running city, because at that time the mantra was you got to run government like a business. And he said, Jack, when you can make a profit out of indigent healthcare at Shands Hospital, then we'll run it like a business. But you can't, and that's what you're seeing here, right? Yep. You're outsourcing. You're trying to save money. Somebody's going to make money off it. It doesn't work. It needs to be brought back in as a core function of government. Right. That's why we have government in the first place.
Yeah.
And a key point about Representative Nixon's request, I think, is that she's asking DOJ to look into the issue outside of just Duval County. She's saying this is an example of how much worse our healthcare got when we contracted with this company, but they are in jails all across this country, and it shouldn't take these local reporters, underpaid reporters, to be the ones who notice it. There should be some oversight in noticing if deaths are going up under this company.
Before we move on, the one thing that stands out to me from the reporting that was done by the Tributary, of which I'm a board member of, is that NavCare had someone die from bed bugs, and I cannot get that image out of my head. Like, that's a horror movie that they allowed. That alone, to me, feels like you should definitely not contract with this group. But just that alone says absolutely not.
Yeah, we have to get the public sentiment thinking about the care of another human being, because oftentimes the perception is if someone is in jail, they deserve to get what they're going to get, and that's not true. We live in a humane society, so we're supposed to take care of those people who we're entrusted to take care of.
Yeah. Speaking of jails that made news this week, last night, former President Donald Trump turned himself into the Fulton County Prison.
Great segue.
Jackie got me laughing. You can't do that. Yeah, that segue was written by Stacey Bennett. I have to give her all props. Last night, former President Donald Trump turned himself into the Fulton County Prison in Georgia. This is after skipping the first debate Wednesday night. So Trump turns himself in. I don't actually know what to say about it because it's the first time that I know of. Maybe like back in the Civil War day, before the Civil War, whatever. Someone else was turned in, but a former president gets turned in and gets a mugshot. That's kind of huge, and yet he will still probably be the Republican nominee, or possibly be the Republican nominee.
Are you saying that Governor DeSantis is sinking in the polls and is increasingly floundering on the national stage? Because that's what I hear everywhere that I turn.
I didn't say that, but you did.
I'm just saying what I'm hearing from my sources in every corner of the United States. But yeah, it was a historic moment. And I do find it really interesting move of strategy to be ready to go for trial in next October. One of the defendants, I think they were trying to play the gamemanship by saying, like, I don't waive my right to speedy trial. And the prosecutor said, okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's make this happen. I don't know how realistic that is. I do think that we're going to see significant roadblocks thrown up by counsel for the 19 co-defendants. And they're going to try to delay it as much as possible. And I mean, Trump's motivation for running for president, many say, is partially to avoid being held accountable for what prosecutors say are really just a laundry list of crimes.
I was involved in defense of a civil RICO action a number of years ago that was in multiple jurisdictions and in probably, I would say at the end of it, there were probably 18 different defendants, and that took us, again, it was a civil action, not a criminal action. But but the complexity is just enormous. Just the motion pleadings and the conflict issues, common interest privileges, all of that, and just the sheer logistics of putting that putting that show on. I mean, I can't imagine this thing going in October. It's just impossible.
I think it's probably fair to your point, Al, reflect on this moment in history, which seems to have been going on since Trump was elected. Right, this is a moment in history. January 6th was a moment in history. All of this is a big moment in history that I don't know how we're going to explain. How am I supposed to explain this to my grandchildren? Yeah. Right, that we're the greatest nation in the world, right, and we can't get this part right. We have a lot of conversation about whether or not he'll be able to pardon himself if he's reelected. That shouldn't be on the table. If you're a convicted felon, you should not be able to be president. Right?
I feel like Trump is a great revealer in the fact that a lot of the things that we have always thought of as rules and laws that have been codified by rules and laws were not. They're just traditions. And it's traditional that we would think that a convicted felon would not be able to run for president, but there's nothing that says he can't.
Right.
We thought that the laws would protect us from somebody getting into the highest office and profiting off of that. There are no laws. There are ethics that are in place, but he just skips over them like he's skipping to the loo and just doing his thing.
It's just it's proof again that the Constitution doesn't cover everything.
No.
And the interpretation of what the Constitution tells us is right and forthright is sometimes wrong, right, and sometimes empty. So we'll see how it evolves.
I may be wrong, but my understanding is under federal law, he couldn't govern while incarcerated, right? I mean, it seems like if he were convicted and incarcerated, would that preclude, even if he were the nominee, his ability to win and become president?
I don't think it precludes him from winning, but whether or not he's capable of governing if he's in whatever. If he's in the Duval County Jail waiting for his meds, that's another
Well, there's
question.
a whole another story.
I mean, I hear he's a picture of health, so I don't think maybe he doesn't need meds, Jack.
Yeah.
The fact that we're even having this conversation is just odd.
Well,
right?
to your point, Al, again, what you're talking about with regards to Trump being Trump, he has really established societal legal norms that have kind of been guidelines and governed our collective political behavior for generations, have kind of gone by the wayside. I don't think we've seen anything like this ever on the federal level.
Yeah.
You know, on state, local, maybe going back to the days of Tammany Hall, but that's what we're facing. And I'll leave you with this. That mugshot was just unnerving. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
The memes have been very fun, but it's no laughing matter. Former president is being accused of trying to overthrow the government, and there is some opinion out there among legal experts that he's actually precluded from running for president due to a clause in the 14th Amendment that prohibits anyone who has tried to overthrow the government.
Well, wouldn't we establish that during the first indictment, right? And say, okay, now he's been indicted. This is the thread he's hanging on.
Yeah.
At that point, not wait until after he's potentially reelected to try to figure this thing out. Someone needs to try to take this up now and save us all a lot of time, if necessary, if need be.
Well, but that's a great point. But again, it's a question of standing. It's a question of ripeness. It's a question of whether or not there's an actual case or controversy,
right,
that would provide standing to a plaintiff or a complainant to seek redress or some sort of advisory opinion. It's kind of like what we're dealing with here on a local level with Randy DeFore, isn't it? Right? Yeah. So
I want to go back to something that Claire brought up earlier. Claire G brought up earlier. Where is in the Republican Party? How is the Florida man that's running for the office? How's he doing, Mr. DeSantis?
Not very well. I mean, he's sinking in the polls. He is attempting to parlay his talent that he admittedly has for getting on Fox News by fighting wokeism and all these other,
It doesn't seem like wokeism is
grievance
working.
politics. It's not working. It's something. It's great to get you a spot on, Hannity, but it's actually not an electable issue to run on. You actually have to have policy that's something beyond. I don't like diversity. Yet I don't want kids to be able to use the bathroom associated with their chosen, with their gender identity. And it's very pessimistic and negative, right? It's a cynical type of politics, and President Biden is reacting to not just the negativity of Ron DeSantis, but of other candidates in the race by trying to, run a positive campaign currently. People are questioning whether or not there's an appetite for that. And, we've seen locally with Mayor Deegan's campaign that actually people do respond to a positive message.
Right. And I think that during Governor DeSantis' reelection, he's probably running on a false sense of security behind his landslide, which was buoyed by the fact that the Democrats put up a bad, a nominee for governor. And now the result of that is that DeSantis has been trying to expand his platform nationally, and it's not working because he's really not well liked here in a lot of circles, and especially now with all of the after the most recent legislative session. A lot of these policies, people don't want to see this. They don't want to see diversity, equity, and inclusion go away. So those are the types of things that won't play well on the national stage.
Can I just shift the conversation just a little bit, because Charles brought up something that I'm curious to hear what you guys think. DeSantis, not doing well in the polls. He won by a landslide because the Democrats really didn't have a candidate that could challenge him. I'm curious, is there anybody in the Democratic field that can step up and be, a nominee for governor when it's time for DeSantis to step down? Because the thing that I think about when it comes to the Democrats is that we have all of this talk about like what the Republican Party is doing, but we tend to not talk about what the Democrat Party is doing, and it doesn't seem to be a whole lot.
And the National Democratic Governors Association gave historically low amounts of funds in our last governor's election last November. I mean, they
saw the
did not
handwriting on the
invest
wall.
in Charlie Crist and in campaigning for him. The National Democratic Party really didn't show up for Florida Democrats in that race. And, you know, I think maybe they didn't see Charlie Crist as a winnable candidate, but I think that's a good point that, you know, it does come down to what the Democrats are doing as well.
Who's on the bench? Yeah, I thought Gwen Graham would have defeated Ron DeSantis in the general had she gotten the Democratic nomination last time around. But that said, who else is out there?
It's
Nikki
a very short.
For Nikki Fried.
I mean, she's the last Democrat to win statewide.
We got a Democrat right here in Jacksonville, don't we?
We do, but do we want to see our mayor?
Right.
Well, I mean, that would be one term.
The bench is short, Al.
It is.
It is
and
very
part
short.
of that's a leadership problem. You know, the Democratic Party of Florida has been churning through leaders for the past several years.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and each time one leaves, there's they leave a trail of negative headlines in their wake. And I know that it's difficult to helm that party in Florida, but you know, the state used to be purple. It still could be.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge behind leadership of the Democratic Party is fundraising. Those who cannot raise funds don't last long as in leadership position, and they have a difficult time finding/funding potential good candidates for these statewide races.
So if they can't raise the funds, who on the Republican side is coming up behind DeSantis?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Wow.
Yeah, no, well, we understand that. I read recently that Matt Gaetz is probably going to be running for governor.
Yeah. Okay. So next subject. There is something strange that smells.
Another nice segue.
That was me. That was all me. At least the timing. There's something that's strange that smells in the neighborhood of Murray Hill. The residents don't know who to call. Locals in the area have been complaining of an odor most foul for years. And a recent study costing $125,000 failed to identify the phantom stench. What's going on? Do we have any ideas what this is?
You know that scene in Mean Girls where Karen says, "I can tell when it's going to rain"? Well, actually, I can tell when it's already raining. That's what it felt like this report was. They were, you know, tasked with finding the cause of the smell, and then they came back to the council and said, well, we can tell when it smells. We don't know why. And we can tell you when there's more complaints about the smell. So it felt like a pretty disappointing report to me.
$125,000 to say
To be like, it stinks.
It stinks.
Yeah.
We know.
You know, my office is over in Riverside, and we get it over there. Okay, and we don't know. I looked at and my paralegal lives down in Avondale, and she believes that the weather has something to do with whether or not it's being blown around or what, because when the humidity decreases, must be some sort of an inversion and it goes away. Mm-hmm. So it comes out in the fall and the spring, again, where humidity's low. Now, okay, so there are a couple other points, though. Number one, the study that EnviroSuites did or whatever was flawed, because my understanding, based on people who were connected to it, that some of the data collection sites were compromised. It's not a good study. But there seems to be an implicit assumption that it's coming out through smokestacks or something. It's being emitted into the air. Okay, how do we know it's not waterborne and being transported? Have there been any water samples taken? Where are the clusters? What are, like, for example, if it's over in Edgewood, if it's, what are the creeks that are around there? Has anybody done any water samples? Because it can be transported moved by water, and then it smells in different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So who knows? But again,
in other words, you don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know, but I don't think $125,000 for a study that really says it smells when it smells. Thank you very much. We're not getting anywhere.
I joked earlier that it sounds like an episode of Scooby-Doo, but it's kind of serious because we don't know what that smell carries with it. Like, we don't know what kind of toxins are out there in the air. And we paid $100, and I can't get over the amount of money that we paid for a study that didn't get anything but to tell us what we already know. I feel like we should ask for our money back. So this smell has been going on. I've been out of town for a while, so like I haven't actually smelled it yet. So this has been going on for a couple years now.
Yeah, it's strange. I would
Many
say,
years.
yeah, 4
I mean,
or
I
5
remember
years,
it
if not
from
longer.
Folio, people writing about it, and I always was under the understanding that we knew where the smell was coming from, and that is the one that there were over 4,000 complaints about international flavors and fragrances. You know, and
To that point, Claire G, I've been talking to a lot of business owners, and IFS says it's not us. And they had their own issues with smells or whatever, because that's what they do. But they're saying that's not them. And other business owners in that area say, listen, we're really disappointed with the study as well. We expected something to come out of this, and nothing. So it needs to be resolved. And I've got my own theory as to where it's coming from. But
Give it to us.
No.
I will not be.
All I can say is that I'm thankful it's not on the north side anymore, because we used to have the old paper mill over there, and it was all that. And thankfully, thanks to the late Tommy Hatsuri, that we got rid of all that. So.
Yeah, because man, that smell was that smell was oppressive.
It was.
Like you could
not. You knew when you were back in town.
Yes, you could not escape it.
Yeah.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the lightning round. Ooh, I love it when a plan comes together. My director, Sid Hoskins, thank you. She's just right on time. All right. So lightning round, guys. Let's start with Claire H.
Superintendent search forums started this week. There were 3 this week. I went to the first one on Tuesday, which was in Baldwin, with just 4 people. So if you want to say in the superintendent search, there's 3 more forums next week, online and in person. We have a list at jaxtoday.org.
Right on. Claire G.
Well, a federal complaint has been filed against Representative Aaron Bean and Florida Senator Kelly Stargell, alleging that they violated federal campaign finance law by transferring at least $1 million from state campaign funds to federal super PACs. Both deny wrongdoing.
Charles G.
All right. A federal judge has expressed doubt over Ron DeSantis' redistricting arguments, as reported in the Tributary. Looks like the governor's lawyers kind of sort of admitted that they put black voters on the back seat when they redrew the districts.
Imagine that. Jack Webb.
Yeah, this is kind of personal in nature, but I want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine who was a staple, an icon in the Northeast Florida music community, and a guy named Brady Green, incredible guitar player, vocalist, bass player, student of music, and he passed away about a week and a half ago, complications related to COVID, and he's missed in the community. He was my musical Yoda. So here's to Brady and his family, Bruce.
All right.
His brother Bruce.
And my lightning round is a little bit sad. My buddy, Claire Heddles, today is her last day. She got an amazing opportunity in D.C. to be a part of actually, Claire, I will let you speak for yourself. Please tell us what you're doing.
I will share more details on Twitter in the coming weeks, but I am relocating to D.C. temporarily. It's my last day at WJCT, but I have really loved reporting here and being in this community, so I will miss it.
Have you loved how many times I've butchered your last name?
Yes, Al. Love chatting with you.
I know.
Say my name however you want.
No. We got to get it right. And I have been told now that I can't call you Claire number 1, so that's out. But yes, Claire Heddles, you are amazing, and we've been so fortunate to work for you. And when your time wherever you're going is done, we hope to see you back.
Thanks, Al.
All right, and we are going to go to a break. Thanks to the panel for coming in and giving me all your great thoughts. You're amazing.
On the next Science Friday, remember this viral story from last month?
Surfers trying to catch some waves off the coast of Santa Cruz, California, now competing with an unlikely adversary, a sea otter.
But why? We'll take you on a deep dive into the world of sea otters. That's on Science Friday from WNYC Studios.
Today at 2 on WJCT News 89.9. In Georgia, one by one, those charged with the conspiracy to illegally keep Donald Trump in power turned themselves in. In Wisconsin,
I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here.
8 Republican candidates duke it out on stage absent the party's leading man. Lots to talk about on the Friday News Roundup next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. You're listening to First Coast Connect. I'm Al Letson, sitting in the big chair in Studio 2 at WJCT. In Jacksonville, we have the Taco and Tequila Festival. It returns next weekend. It's a great way to celebrate Labor Day weekend and 904 Day. Charles Wagner of 904 Happy Hour, which organized the festival, is here to taco us about it. I didn't write that pun, Charles. I didn't. I
love it.
I don't, but I'm glad you like it. So tell me, what's the festival about?
The festival it's all about Jacksonville, our culture, our food, and highlighting downtown. So for 2 days, this Labor Day, we're going to turn Met Park into a festival like no one's ever seen before. We're going to have art installations all over the park. We'll have 4 stages of music.
Wow.
Over 40 taco vendors, over 100 unique different types of tacos that people can try. And it's going to be really special.
And don't forget the tequila.
Oh, man, tequila.
What kind of, do you have a tequila vendor that's going to be there, or like?
So we have over 45 different tequila distilleries from Mexico coming.
Wow.
We'll have over 120 different types of tequila that people can try in our grand sampling experience. That will be right on the riverfront in about 1,000-foot area where people can try everything. There will be a 2-story lounge next to that, upgraded hospitality in the Golden Agave Club this year, which will have a air-conditioned speakeasy.
Nice.
Raised viewing decks. Really just a new gold standard for event hospitality here in Jacksonville.
Excellent. So what was the inspiration for the festival?
Growing up here in Jacksonville, we've always had a lot of taco spots, and I just love tacos. And about 8 years ago, really found a passion for tequila. And through kind of our mission with our foundation, we decided that it would be a lot of fun to put on a big festival that kind of combined both of those with, incredible music and art here in Jacksonville.
Tell me about the music. Like, what are some of the bands that we can expect to see?
Yeah. So our biggest lineup we've ever put together. Iration will headline Saturday night with Lupe Fiasco opening for him. He did the song Kick.
Yeah. I literally was listening to Lupe Fiasco on the way to the station this morning. My jam from his Daydream.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a great one.
It is. And then one of my favorite bands or groups right now, they're out of Australia. They're called Night Tales. They will be opening for him. And we have over 40 musicians throughout both days. And then on Sunday, Big Boy.
Okay.
Outcast.
Okay. You just got my attention. Like, don't get me wrong. Love Lupe. But Big Boy is my dude.
Man, we're so excited to bring him from Atlanta here to Jacksonville. And his team's really excited to come here. And Gym Class Heroes is going to open for him. They haven't played in a long time. They're actually coming to Jacksonville. They're renting out a studio, and this is like a reunion show for them.
Wow.
And it looks like they may go on tour after this, which is really exciting. Some of my favorite songs from when I was probably 15 years ago were by them. So really nostalgic.
Yeah. That Gym Class Heroes takes me back. Like I'm trying to think of like what their big song was, but I totally remember those
Cupid's
guys.
Chokehold was a
Yeah. Okay, so now that's the music portion of it. What's the art stuff?
Yeah. So we have partnered with the Cultural Council, and we are curating over 20 different murals around the festival. Sean Thurston, Elaine Orlander, and over 15 other artists will be doing live murals around the park.
Oh, wow.
There will also be some artists doing sculptures, And every single area of the park will be activated with different art. Scotty Cousins, we have over three over 100 plus foot tents that'll be set up around the festival with mist fans and just to provide shade for the guest. He's creating art installations that will hang from the tops of the tents.
Wow.
So once you walk through the gates, it'll be really immersive.
Yeah. So how much does it cost for an individual day, or for the full festival? Like, what's the cost on that?
Yeah. So single day tickets are $35 till Sunday, and then they go up to $40. And then 2 days, I believe, are $65. And then for the grand sampling experience, right now tickets are $95. And the Golden Agave Club, I believe, are $250 for single day.
Nice.
And they're
Excellent.
almost sold out.
Okay. Oh, wow. So people have to like move to get in.
Yes, one of the grand sampling experience waves is already sold out, and Golden Agave will probably sell it this weekend.
Yeah. And so how does all of this tie into 904 Day?
Yeah, so it's Labor Day weekend, which ties into 904 Day, and we are also putting on a park cleanup on Labor Day. So we will have a node at the park and most likely another node in downtown that guests can help beautify our beautiful city.
Right on. Charles Wagner of 904 Happy Hour, thank you so much for coming in and talking about the Jacksonville Taco and Tequila Fest. Comes back next weekend. I hope everybody comes out for it. Thanks for coming in, man.
We can't wait. Thanks for having us.
All right. And that is our show today. I hope everybody out there has a good weekend. I'm Al Letson. You've been listening to First Coast Connect. Our director today was the Steven Spielberg of the operation, was Sid Hoskins. She did an amazing job. Our associate producer is Stacy the Brain Bennett. Our senior producer is Heather the Great